Hello everybody, my name is Ludwig and welcome to my Integrated Strategies 5 guide. In this video, I will be going over all the mechanics of IS5 so you can get started on your journey. But before we begin, I want to first say, in the description below will be a few resources I highly recommend, notably the Arknights wiki.gg, as it has a page dedicated to IS5 and all the information, specifically the ending requirements, as the endings require a few different steps to obtain them, and the wiki has all the information of what you need to do step by step to obtain that specific ending. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Integrated Strategies is in the terminal in the long-term exploration category. So this is a permanent game mode that you can play whenever you'd like. So Integrated Strategies is a roguelite game mode. So what that means is you start off with 3 operators or less, and then you go through floors and different nodes, which can be different things like battles, encounters that are random events, shops, or other types of nodes, and then you go through different floors. Eventually you will reach a certain floor, which will be either end your run, which will give you a certain ending, or you'll go to a special floor, which will be determined if you're going for a different ending and stuff, sort of along those lines. So if you're confused about anything, in the top here on the page for Sarkaz's Furnaceside Fables for IS5 is the Soul Communication Code. The Soul Communication Code has all the information I'm about to talk about. It has all the updates that will happen. It has data information. It has, specifically in the exploration and gameplay category, is the introduction, which will tell you all the information about like what is IS5, all the squads, and what the nodes are, the different types of events you're going to have, like the shops or the scouting, etc. All the different nodes, the stats and what each thing means, and all the effects, the new things like thoughts and toil. I will go over all these, but if you are ever confused, the wiki has this information and the in-game Soul Communication Code has this information. In the gameplay, we'll tell you everything about the other mechanics in IS5, and you can read about them here. So, with that out of the way, let's go over everything. So, IS5 is a roguelite game mode, so that means you go through the floors and you go through nodes, and eventually you'll get an ending. Eventually, after that, you will get a currency called soul bookmarks, which will go towards your Hypotheses compilation. This is the free reward track. Think of it kind of like a battle pass, except it's free. You don't have to pay for it. Also, if you're confused about anything, next to the home symbol will always be typically an information system here. And this will tell you exactly what place and what all this means. Like, this is the permanent rewards section, and it will tell you all that information. If you ever see this icon, it will tell you about whatever category you're currently at. So you'll get soul bookmarks for doing runs, and you'll get them, and will give you free rewards. The monthly contract will refresh every month, and these are just nice side objectives which will give you soul bookmarks, which will then give you more rewards. Right now I'm at the max. Eventually we'll have more content, which will then I can get more levels, etc. The question mark here will also tell you how to get soul bookmarks. You can eventually buy them with Originium Prime, but yeah, and that is really it here. Soul bookmarks give you free rewards, etc. Then you will also get another currency. This other currency will go towards the historical reconstruction. The historical reconstruction, you'll get stray myths, and just like normal, next to the home icon will tell you all about the historical reconstruction. This will also be obtained just like when you get soul bookmarks, and you'll get stray myths instead. These are small buffs to help you on your next run, so every future run will now have a little bit of a nice bonus. Like if I unlock this, I'll get another 10% command XP, or I'll get another toil limit, or ingot, or I'll have allied units will have more attack and defense and HP and max HP, etc. So, and more ingots, etc. These all can be viewed in the reconstructed with this sort of magnifying glass. These are all the buffs that you have currently unlocked, and eventually the more every run will then make the future runs a little bit more easy. it's not too big of a increase in, like, it doesn't make everything super easy, but it definitely makes it more manageable. As you first start out, you don't have any buffs, and then it's a lot harder, it seems. Then eventually you get small buffs, which do impact the way the game basically plays. You know, having a few shield and having more attack and defense really will help you successfully win. So basically, just the more you play, you'll just unlock naturally over time small but permanent buffs for your next runs. You can also unlock certain very important ones, such as these 3 main ones. These will allow different types of nodes to appear. So the Eldritch Cognition, Temporal Warp, and Reality Swap will allow you to have possibility nodes, scout nodes, and lost and found nodes. Lost and found nodes are extremely important, as this is how you get certain endings, and possibility is also, I think you need at least Eldritch Cognition and Reality Swap to obtain all the current endings. And then I don't think you need Scout, but it's very good to unlock scouting nodes as well. So over time, you'll just get this currency, Stray Myths, for free, and you just will unlock small buffs here that eventually add up to be very, very extreme, very, very useful and helpful permanent buffs for your future runs. Besides that, you will then also have shops. Shops you can invest in, and the information is to the right of the home as normal. And shops, you can invest in them once you reach them, and then eventually at certain levels of investment, you will then gain these effects, which are displayed here. And they're just small little benefits. Over time, you will get more of them, and that's about it. The Impression Restoration is these are different types of nodes that you will have, and the information is here in Impression Restoration. You have Safe Houses, Rogue Trader, False Truth. These nodes, you will then have to use plans. So this symbol on the left here is a plan. Plans are different types of items you can obtain, and you can use them once you reach one of these nodes to then upgrade it and consolidate it. This is a permanent effect that will last for any future runs, just like the Stray Myths. You have to use one of your plans. For the first upgrade, use 1. For the second, use 2. For the third, use 2. For the fourth, you use 3. And for the fifth, you use 3. Now, each of them have different effects, which are displayed here. And these will last even in your future runs. So you do not need to worry about having to redo this. It will stay permanently once you have done an upgrade. Now, the amplification effect is the opposite. This is a random amplified effect. You will have to use 2 plans, just like normal here, just like if you're doing an upgrade, except you can only do amplification after you have done all of the previous consolidation. These will be a random effect, which will then last for the entire exploration, but will not apply to the next exploration. They will only apply to the current exploration. And they can be different things, like gaining a shield whenever you enter a safe house, or it can be offered new options or more options. Same thing, similar things for the Rogue Trader or the False to Truth. They will just be, if you have extra plans and you'd like to use them, it's not a horrible idea to use them to amplify one of these different nodes, or even multiple if you have a lot of plans. But this does not carry over to the next run. That is the only thing about them, and sometimes you may not want some effect, or you may want to use your plans elsewhere. The metal set is here, and the storyteller list is here, which basically you will have a storyteller, which will be different there's one previously before this, which was Nymph, and you have the records, which is story-based stuff. Basically, you will start a run with this type of character, and you will do a contract, which will have a mission here, and you will obtain a certain amount of rewards if you complete that mission. And you start with that character, basically, and you start a run, but it's not like a normal regular run, because you do not get soul bookmarks normally. You just get them if you get the mission requirement, if you complete the mission, basically. But they are pretty nice, and to get the storyteller records, you just have to get to floor 5 and then you have technically completed it, but you can still get the rewards even if you don't get the storyteller records. So yeah, these will update every month or so, and we'll have a new storyteller later. And now for the main thing here. Okay, actually, let's go back to the archives. So the archives, this is the main, basically all your information about what you collect. The abstract entity guidebook is your trinkets or collectibles. Collectibles typically are something that increase or buff. They're typically positive effects. Sometimes they're not, but typically they are positive effects that will give you a benefit in some way or form. Such as this one will give me squad size limit +1 and all allied units recover 10 HP per second. Or so, and then this one will give me squad size limit +1, all allied units gain +5% attack. So over time you'll just collect these and they will give you some type of benefit. More hope, more squad size limit, shield +6, etc. Yeah, +3 shield, etc. The epochal recollections. Epochs are basically modifiers. During your run, you will have a modifier that will sometimes appear. Epochs are typically bad. They make the game more difficult and challenging. They modify it in some way, and it's not usually good. The only one that is good is Prosperity. The Prosperity Epoch is the good one. It will have treasure chests that are more likely to appear, and allied units will gain max HP. All the others minus your deployment limit. Plans have more toil, which is a mechanic I'll go over later. Enemies gain more max HP. Higher priced items. Sarkaz enemies gain more attack, etc. Allied units lose HP on deployment. Typically they are a negative effect, besides Prosperity. The Farseeing compositions are the endings. Currently on Global, we only have 3 endings. Eventually, we'll have Expansion 1 and Expansion 2, which will add Ending 4 and 5. But right now, we only have on Global up to 3. These endings, you can re-watch the stories or reread it. The Part 3 of each of these will be hidden. You will have to complete a challenge before you will be able to read it, basically. Once you complete that challenge, you will then see exactly, you can then read what the Part 3 is. Each of them have a different Part 3 challenge that you have to complete before being able to see it. And that is about it. Alright. The Visionary Melodies are the OST soundtracks in the background that play when you go to different stages and do different endings for different bosses. I just have it on Whitely Glimmers, The Land of Laws, which is the third ending background music. Not the boss music, the background music before you reach the boss. And that's about it. I like it. I think it sounds nice. The Stray Mentality Testimonies. This is easier to honestly display than explain. So I will actually just showcase exactly what this is in the first place. So you have Lingerers, which basically look for the stars. The higher the star rating, the better. The weight icon demonstrates how much it's going to take of space, basically. You have a limited amount of space when you start. So I'll go over that a little later, and if you get too much space, you'll become encumbered, and you do not want to be encumbered. It's very bad. Inspires are small buffs that you get to use. They also have a weight limit, and they typically will give you some type of buff. In the next battle, all allied units gain max HP, gain command XP, more ingot drops, attack and max HP. They typically are a benefit in some way or a buff, and you can use them. Basically think of them as like a consumable, a buff for the next battle. Except this one, Witchcraft is not exactly, it depends on what you want to do. It can be very good, it can also be very, very bad. So you have to have a little bit more planning, and it's not as direct as just having, more attack or something. So just be careful if you're using this one. Other than that, everything else is basically just a benefit in some way. Plans are a unique one. So as normal, the star rating basically mean eventually you will reach a false to truth node. So you can use Inspires like a consumable to gain attack speed. Or you can, but Lingers you have to use at a false to truth node. At false to truth, you will then have the ability to basically combine two or more, or two, not two or more. You have to combine one of these and maybe one of these, where you can combine inspires with plans, where it basically works in, you can use all three interchangeably. But be careful, look at the star rating. The higher the star rating, typically the better the reward. Some of them are also required for certain endings, i.e. these two are required for ending 2. You would need Pure White Petals and Wordless Deed to then get to combine them together at a False to Truth node to then obtain the Pledge of Babel, which is required for ending 2. But any of the others are not really, they don't have that effect. But the stars mean basically how rare they are. So combining a 2 with a 3, you will have a 2 outcome, 2-star outcome. You need to combine a 3 and a 3 to have a 3-star outcome. The 3-star means the reward is probably better in general. 1 star is going to have lower rarity rewards, etc. The rewards just won't be as great. Plans are always 3 stars, and plans are used pretty much, like I said, you will tend to use them either in the to impression restoration at the beginning to upgrade consolidation. You can use them plans to refresh an encounter or a node to then be able to just basically roll and see a different node, but it's random. You can use plans for many different reasons. Plans are basically a very general use item that you're gonna probably be using during IS5. And that's kind of the gist of all of them. So these need to be combined, and they have different effects at a False to Truth node with Lingers. Inspires can be used without having a False to Truth node and are some type of buff in some way. Plans can be used outside of False to Truth nodes and can be used for a variety of different uses, basically. The records are here as well, like we just looked at, just like if you're doing the Storyteller List. And the Fabrication Exhibition is the images. These are the images you will see by doing certain endings, the CG background images, and different events. You will see images, and they will show up here. And that is it for the archives. So we've now covered all of that. Let me cover now the difficulties. So like I said, you'll get buffs here. So in the historical reconstruction, these different buffs will carry over to your next run and any future runs. You will also have, there's certain ones will only take place if you're facing a certain difficulty. So Tome of Worn Pages only takes place when you're facing souls 3 or above. Relic of Odd Ages will take place facing 6 or above. Vision of Ageless Cycles will take place when facing 9 or above. These will not have any effect if you're facing below their certain level. But these are basically extra buffs to make, basically it makes it a little more manageable to compensate for the increased difficulty. So those nodes are typically here: Relic of Odd Ages, the big ones, Tome of Worn Pages, and Vision of Ageless Cycles. So these are the facing difficulty levels. Currently we have 15 levels of difficulty. Eventually I think we have 15 is the normal level of difficulty, but I think for this integrated strategies we go up to eventually 18. Think of these as additional modifiers that will give you a better reward at the end, a better score, but the difficulty is higher, basically. And the details are on the left here, difficulty details here. And details will be here as well. And the difficulty, enemies will gain attack and HP, epochs will be expansional, mental toil will be heavy, so it makes it harder, basically. But in return, you gain a better score efficiency. A better score efficiency means at the end you'll gain more soul bookmarks because you're doing a higher level of difficulty, basically. And that is really about it. But you don't have to really go up to higher levels. Like, you can basically do everything even at level 1, but if you'd like to get, I think the metal requires at least level 10 to trim it, and that is about it. But you don't need to go higher than that. It's just really up to you if you'd like to do that. So now let me showcase exactly what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So you have Explorer in a normal one, and then you pick your squad. So let me talk about a few things. At the top is life points. You can click it here, and this is basically your health. If you lose this, you basically the run ends. If this goes to 0 without certain collectibles, you lose basically. Different enemies have different life points, and if they reach your objective point, which is the blue box, you lose a certain number of points. That goes to 0, you lose. Basically, your run ends. Command level is XP. Basically, by doing stages, you will gain XP, which will give you many different effects, and they're very good. You will sometimes gain max life point, toil limit, max number of operators, and hope. Hope is this yellow symbol on the right. This is how you gain operators. Hope is how you recruit operators in integrated strategies. You need hope to then recruit them and then upgrade them or promote them. And this uses the same level as your operators. So depending on your roster, you basically they will start at basically E1 if you have them leveled. So if you have level 90 or E2'd, they will start in integrated strategies at E1 max level then, as long as you have something similar. But if you have somebody not even upgraded, they will appear not upgraded even at the beginning. So you kind of have to have a built roster, but IS is a permanent game mode, so you can always come back to IS and feel free to try it anyways. It's not going to bar you from access. So hope is how you recruit operators, and then ingots are used at the shop or some other encounters, which will then, it's basically your currency. It's another currency that you'll gain over time. The different squads are down here. Different squads have different effects based on below them, and you can unlock them. Some of them you have to unlock, like the fortification ones or the tactical ones, and then some of them you unlock through the historical reconstruction, like the Erudite Squad, Soul Escort Squad, and Blueprint Squad. The Blueprint Squad is very good. So let me just showcase this. The symbols here on the left are the endings you have completed with that squad. If you have completed different endings, and the symbols will change depending on the difficulty level. The higher the difficulty level, the symbol will change. So I've done the first ending here, the second one, and the third one with support. I've done the first, second, and third with the Blueprint Squad, and I've done Tactical Range Squad with the first ending, and I've done Tac Assault with the first ending. So the symbol will change. See, this one is a little red, this one is not red, this one is red. So the higher the difficulty you do, the symbol will change based on the difficulty you have completed with that squad. So let me showcase. Blueprint Squad, node refresh count +1, and first refresh is free, starting plans +1. This allows you to refresh a node another time. It gives you a first refresh for free, and the plans you gain are +1. Plans, typically to refresh, you have to use a plan, so it costs 1 plan just to refresh a node. But because Blueprint Squad, you get it for free. So then you'll go to this screen. You then select what your recruitment is. I'm on difficulty 11 as well. You have different squads here. You also, sometimes you may get a screen that pops up and says, if you've completed 2 or more floors, I believe, you will gain a basically random reward that can be hope or something else, and that random reward will basically just help you on your current run. But you need to complete 2 or more floors to get that to appear on the next run, basically. So here are the squads. You have first move advantage, steadily surely, overcoming your weaknesses as your heart desires. You can basically choose whatever you want. I typically like running with first move advantage, specifically because I grab so here's the screen. I have now gone to the sniper. You get vouchers based on what squad you decided to take. You have your hope up here. You have 6 when you start. A typical operator costs 6. So to recruit a 6-star, it's 6. To recruit a 5-star, it is 2. And to recruit a 4-star, they are free, and 3 stars and below are free as well in IS5. Now, like I said, see, they are these operators that I technically have that are E2'd in my main roster. All the information is also here on the top left here. You can look at the recruitment, the hope cost, etc., promotion, temporary recruitment. So basically, because I have these operators already leveled in my main account, they are basically the same. See, like Archetto is only level 48 E1, but my others are E1 level 80. But my other ones are leveled up in my main account. So if I grabbed Archetto and then I upgraded her and promoted her, the promotion won't do anything because then she'll go to E2. But I don't have her leveled at all in the first place, so it wouldn't matter. It won't change anything. So you have to already have somebody built up in the first place for them to be promoted afterwards. So I'll grab Wizardell for example here. I like this start personally. Mixing with either Myrtle or somebody else. And then a specialist like Tin Man or Gravel is my preferred sort of method here. And now you have your squad. You have now completed a squad. You have no hope left. You have no currency hope. And you begin. You begin on Furnace Origin. This is floor 1. Then, so now you're on floor. You have no collectibles. And then you have thoughts at the bottom. Okay, so let me go over this. These are nodes. So now we have a combat operation. Then we have an emergency operation. Now the way this goes, the way the lines are going, I can either go down to emergency op, or I can either go up to combat op, or and then they'll go into a counter, which will lead into rogue trader. So one of the things is, and these lines in between, this indicates you can move in between. So this requires plans. Down here, these plans can be used to either refresh, but because I have the blueprint squad, I can freely refresh as such. Oh, I got a emergency operation. See, it's random. You can get tons of different types. So I can do this mission, and then I can go up here, or I can go down here. And because I have a free refresh, I could do it, or I can just use a plan. I could refresh this again because now this will spend 1 plan to refresh, and this will increase the more, but you can only refresh so many times. These lines in between mean once I go here, let's say I go through this stage and then I go to this one, I can then use my plans, if you have 2 or more, to then go down to that stage and then basically do another type of node, and then giving you potentially more rewards. I'm actually going to refresh this. Well, I now cannot refresh this anymore. I've used up refreshes and I have this mission. Now I have to do this, or I have to go down and okay, let's see this one. Oh, look at that. Because of Blueprint Squad, I now have I have an encounter instead. And now I could refresh this, or I can just do it. And then this one will lead into a combat op. So because I now used planned, now I lowered my mental toil. So I have a max of 4, which will go up later based on when you level up through your command level or through other events throughout the run. The information is also to the right at the top here. It will tell you all this information about what is going on. So now this phrase here, awaiting load-bearing operators, what does that mean? So what does that mean is you can pick operators you have to increase your mental toil limit. You do not want this to reach at level 4. You get you're at max, but you're okay. If you're above 4, I believe you start. Actually, even at 4, you start having problems. Once you reach yellow, you'll have to take a hit if you continue moving forward. And if you hit red, you can't even move, I think, at all. You do not want this to become increased. See, when you have lower than, you're lucid and everything runs normally. Fractured is when you're at the yellow, when you're a little bit above, and you will exceed the limit, and it will cause burden and negative effects. Obstructed, you cannot even progress. So, now load-bearing operators, you can always change. You are free to change any of these. Now, higher rarity operators typically have they give more mental toil limit. So a 6-star will give more than a 4-star or a 5-star typically, and a leveled up promoted, so E2 6-star, will give even more toil limit. So now right now, Tin Man gives the most, even though he's a 5-star, specifically because he has a talent which allows him to give more toil limit when he acts as a load-bearing operator. So he's cheaper to recruit, and he gains toil limit when acting as a load-bearing operator in IS 5 specifically, which makes him a great pick due to him being, well, one of the free ops. You get him for free, so he is great in IS 5. So that means he is actually more than a 6-star here. And now it goes up. I now have 22 limit, or a little bit, 21 basically. So now I can hold a lot more. So everything has a toil limit here down at the weight icon, and everything will have that. You have plans, and just like we talked about earlier, lingers, and you'll have lingers with number here as well, and that's the toil limit. You'll have inspires there as well, and you'll have plans. And that is basically the short of it. So let's just begin. Let's say encounter here. Okay, so encounters can be kind of anything. Okay, we got this one. Fated encounter. Now this is kind of how encounters work. Some are different, but basically now this one will tell me I can choose between what collectible I want or just leave. Doodle of Hope is an extremely good collectible, as it gives you hope and it makes encounters better basically. Now I have a collectible, and your collectibles will show up here. Your operators will show up here. You can look between them. Your squad will be here, and you can also freely choose what you're going to bring and what skills everyone's going to use. The information is here as well, to the right as normal. All the information here. Now, let's say I don't want to do hasty escape. Because I have Blueprint Squad, I can just refresh that for free, and now it's another encounter. So, specifically what I want to say is, one of the tips I can give is that the earlier floors are typically easier. So it's not always a bad idea to take an emergency ops. Emergency ops tend to give the best rewards, but are typically difficult in some way. But earlier floors are easier than later floors. So an emergency op on floor 1 is going to be easier than emergency op on floor 3 or 4. So taking an emergency op early, if you're up for it and your squad is prepared, is not a bad idea, and can actually give you a very good jump start on rewards, as you really do want to get operators, and the best rewards come typically from emergency operations. But they're risky later on because they're a lot harder. So you have to sort of gauge if you want to take that risk. But they typically are very good to do early on because you're going to get a head start, which will then help you in the future, basically. So I'm going to do this encounter, and okay, we got it. So because I have the Doodle of Hope in the previous encounter, it has the effect of triggering wondrous effects in encounter nodes. This is another encounter, and because I have Doodle of Hope, I gain 3 hope instead of 2 without using it. So very nice. Now, here's what I was talking about. I can head up to, let's say I want to do hasty escape. I would hit proceed, but oh, I guess I can do it. Oh, okay. I thought it required more than that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so now the symbol next to it, the plans. So, you see, I started at the encounter, right? To go up, I could refresh it now because I have a free refresh because of Blueprint Squad. Or, I could technically play the stage like normal, but it will require me to have these dot line here. I need 2 plans to go up. So basically, I would then go from this encounter up to emergency operation, and then if I complete the emergency operation, I can then go to this encounter and then Rogue Trader, instead of just going to encounter and Rogue Trader. So that could give me more potential rewards, or just change the trajectory I want to take, the path I want to take to reach the end, basically. But you have to have 2 plans. I do not have 2 plans, so I cannot go up to this node. See, I don't have 2 plans. You have 1. insufficient plans. So I can't do that. But I can refresh it if I feel like that, because I have it for free. But basically the ... lines mean you can go in, you can move up and down basically from where you're at. So I was here, now I can go up, or I can go up again if I had more, if I really wanted to. And this can be very good for a potential reward gain. Instead, you're using your plans to gain more rewards to then help you on in your future stages. So I'm gonna go to this encounter. Okay, I have Doodle of Hope, so I gain ingots and I gain hope. Alright, and then when we go to, now I can also go up, but I can't because I don't have any plans. So the Rogue Trader, so here's where the impression restoration's at. So once you get to a node like a Rogue Trader, you can click you can also refresh it if you'd like. Typically, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not really that great. It depends. It's always random, but if you have a lot of ingots, you might want to spend them, or you might want to save them, so you might want to refresh. So now I have it completed, so I have the impression restoration completed. So it's not going to have, I don't have any consolidation to do, but I can click this and click impression restoration, which will allow me to see what my permanent consolidation effects are, and my amplification effect for this exploration. Rogue Trader is more likely to sell rarer collectibles on refresh. Now I can't amplify this because I don't have 2 plans, but this is like I was talking about earlier. This will only apply for this exploration, and then you'll have to do it. It'll have a different effect for the next run, or it might be the same one. It's random, but this is not a permanent effect. Well, the top is permanent. So, but before you unlock the amplification, you will have to do the consolidation. So what you need to do is you just click the node like normal, but instead of hitting proceed, you would click the impression restoration, the brain symbol here. This will then allow you, if you have the plans required, to then spend the plans to gain the permanent consolidation effects. And that is how, and that's the same for the other nodes as well. You just, before you click proceed, you just click the impression restoration effect at the top. Same for safe houses and false to truth nodes. So you just click this and it will be a different symbol. The symbol will not be completely filled out, and you'll be missing parts on the left here of the brain sort of mural. You then click here and you just upgrade it if you have the required plans. Now I'm gonna proceed. So the Rogue Trader will look like this basically. You have your ingots, and that's what you're gonna be spending. The investment system, like I was talking about, is here. Wrong thing. The investment system is here. It will only allow you to spend a certain amount of ingots to invest in per run. But these ingots will build up over time. I have 143 total, and eventually you'll get to 500, and that will give you a certain effect or even more. So now to do that, you will just click this. You can also withdraw and take money out of your savings that you've invested to then gain them if you need them to buy something in a run. And that may be useful. So you just click like this, and I'm losing my ingots at the top right here. And eventually it will say, okay, I can no longer use the investment function during this exploration. I have now spent all I can. I can no longer spend any more. And that's it. Now you can either do that or you can spend it on items. So you can have items like promotions, promote operators without requiring hope. You can have effects that give, these are all collectibles. This is a lingerer and will give some type of effect. This is a 4-star one, so very good, but it has 5 mental toil. You can have items that will give you different effects. You can have recruitment vouchers to recruit certain operators. You can also sell things you have. They're not typically it's definitely not exactly it's typically not worth it because they definitely are not sold at you're not going to get that many ingots back for what you're investing, basically. This sort of button down here, this will allow you to basically you could basically fight the merchant guy, and you can either fight him and basically I think get some good rewards, or you don't fight him. But this is how you would fight him. To unlock this, you need to invest a certain amount, which is specifically 100 ingots, and that option will show up. You at at 25 ingots, you will gain the balance withdrawal function, which is showcased here, the prospective investment system. Balance withdrawal function in the prospective investment system. And the balance withdrawal system is this on the right here, how you take out money instead, or ingots. And then you can also refresh this. This is a item you have to get in the historical reconstruction, I believe. I thought so. Maybe not. I thought it was. Because I'm pretty sure typically you can't refresh normally without having... Oh, I guess so. Oh, wait. Oh, I guess so. I guess not. Well, in another one, in a different IS, to refresh, you have to have unlocked one of the different nodes in this sort of section. A different type of looking one, but it's the same idea, which was IS4 specifically. But you can refresh this once, which will reset all the items here, and you can then take a look and see if you want to get anything. Wow. Wow, that's pretty good. Hibernating Kin is actually pretty good. The Bronze Seal is not bad. Well, actually, HR Bronze Seal is not great. 5-star that's randomly promoted is a big list, so that's not exactly the best. So you basically, these are collectibles you can choose to buy or not. This one is actually pretty good for the arts damage and elemental damage. And that's really it. And then once you're done spending money or you don't have anything left, you will then hit the exit button. Actually, I can buy this here, this Vanguard recruitment voucher, right? And now I can use one of my hope at the top to then level up an operator here. So because I have Myrtle leveled up already in my main operator roster, I can then promote her and she'll be basically the exact level I already have her at, which is basically maxed with the skill masteries and everything. At E1, they do not have any masteries, but at E2, they can get all their masteries, depending on if you have unlocked those masteries or not. And that is basically it. And then you hit exit, and now, okay, now we're at an Epoch. So an Epoch is that modifier, and now this modifier will, more Spines of Epoch will appear. Spines of Epoch and Spikes of Weeping gain 100 plus 150% max HP. So this is a modifier that makes the game harder in some way. The run will be more difficult. And now, this will end after 5 moves. After you've moved 5 nodes, it will go away. So let's say I want to, okay, so now we have Prophecy here. Prophecy is a different node. Oh, let me showcase this as well. Because I elite promoted, so it showcased the promotion here on Myrtle, she now has 6 toil limit. Because she has been promoted, she gets increased toil limit, and this will also apply to Wizardel or any other unit that you have promoted. 6 stars give more, Tin Man gives more due to his talent, etc. So now we have a Prophecy. Now, a Prophecy node, you can gain 2 Lingers, or you can gain a collectible. The 2 Lingers here will take 10 total toil, and you'll get these 2. You will need these 2 to interpret them at a False to Truth node at the end here to gain the second ending. You will get Pledge of Babel, which will be required to obtain the second ending. Then I'm gonna go to the Scout node. The Scout node will give me, I can choose an operator, and they will come back to on the next floor, and when they come back, they will give me, they will come back, now I cannot use them because they are scouting, but they will come back promoted on the next floor. Then I have an emergency op, but I'm gonna refresh that, see? I refreshed that due to, it's free due to Blueprint Squad. Typically that requires 1 plan. I hit encounter, and I can choose between these 2. How about we get some squad size limit, and then the loaded Burden Beast will join us. And then we'll go to the Lost and Found node. At the Lost and Found node, you can choose different options. This is specifically unlocked once you get the effect here. You need temporal warp to gain the scout nodes, and reality swap for the lost and found nodes to appear. If you don't have them, they will not appear. I will grab the square box, which will give me the Prophet's Horn. Now, the biggest thing is that I just got both items that are required to obtain ending 2 and 3. You need the Prophet's Horn to obtain ending 3. Now, you can only get one ending at the end, basically. But you can also face the other boss at the end later, if you would like. So, depending on the ending, so now this is a little more complicated, but basically, you basically will have certain items that will give you a certain ending. So, I have to interpret, okay, so here's your false truth note. The impression restoration, I can, if you, just like the permanent consolidation effect, if you have plans, you can upgrade here, or you can get the amplification effect for this exploration. This is how you basically combine stuff. So I can combine these two. You can only combine 2, or I can combine one of these with this, and this will give me a rare reward, which is the 3 stars, because this is a 4-star and a 3-star. But I want to put both of these together to get Pledge of Babel, which will give me the ability to do ending 2. So now I've done that, and then I hit leave, because I cannot do anything with only 1. And now we have departed the Epoch. Now Wizardel has returned because of the scouting, and now I have Wizardel, and she's now promoted and leveled up with my masteries on her as well with module. So that is because she was basically promoted after being sent off to scout. So now let me talk a little bit about this. So Pledge of Babel, at the end, you can fight the normal boss if you do not have Pledge of Babel. The regular ending, you'll fight the boss as normal, and the run will end. If you have Pledge of Babel, you can do ending 2, which you'll fight a different boss at the very end on stage or floor 5, and then you can get a different ending, which will be ending 2. The Prophet's Horn will require you to do a few more steps, and then you can do ending 3, but this will be after doing stage 5. So for ending 3, you have to do a few more steps. And then after stage 5, you can still fight you can still do Pledge of Babel, or still do ending 1 or ending 2, the boss. But you will then go, if you have done Prophet's Horn requirements and have gotten another item, you will then be sent to a 6th floor, which will then be the true final ending, and that will be ending 3 or 4, and that will end your run afterwards. It's a little confusing, but basically, the wiki page has all the information about specific endings. In general, there's no real reason if you're going for ending 3 to get Pledge of Babel, as it just makes everything more difficult unless you really want to. If you're doing ending 3, there's no point to do ending 2, so just do ending 1. But if you're doing ending 2, then yes, get Pledge of Babel, because it makes all operators plus 3 DP cost. And so, just like normal, now we're at the floor 3. I can go through encounters into now all these different types of nodes. I can see exactly how they interconnect and plan accordingly where I want to go, and I can see which ones connect where. I can move up or down in between each different ones, etc. And then I get to false truth, and then typically you're gonna have some type of, on the 3rd floor, you're gonna have some boss. You're gonna have a dreadful foe, and it will be some type of boss, and yeah, and that's about it. Then you'll go to floor 4, and then you go to floor 5, and the floor 5 will either end your run, or you'll go to the next floor. Possibility nodes can send you to a bizarre fragment, which is a sort of side event, basically a side stage, which will have different stages, but it won't be the typical, like if I go on stage 3 to this possibility, or floor 3, it will send me to a different area, which will have different nodes. And then once I complete all those nodes, it will then take me back to exactly where I was here, and then I'll move forward into the Lost and Found area, or the Rogue Trader. So it's like a side area which can get you more rewards for the future. And that's basically IS in general. You collect stuff, these collectibles will help you or not help you in some way. You gain hope, you upgrade your operators, you recruit operators that you have, and you just do different stages and different events to eventually reach the end, to eventually hopefully win. And that's basically all it is. It's pretty fun, actually. So now, with that out of the way, I wanted to go over... Before I go over notable operators, I know this has been a little bit of a long time, so I'm gonna put chapters in the description as normal. Before I go over notable operators in IS5, I want to first go over core themes. IS5's core themes that I have noticed, or certain patterns, are high defense enemies with high resistance, which requires some type of which makes elemental damage extremely powerful in IS5 specifically. One of the main characters of IS5 being Nymph. When she released right before IS5, she is extremely good in IS5 if you have Nymph. Tin Man is also very good, and he released at level 25, you will gain Tin Man, and he is extremely good in IS5 too. So because of the high resistance and high defense, you have to find certain other ways around that, or have extremely high attack or high damage, high physical or high arts damage to bypass those sort of restrictions. I've noticed the enemies are typically slower, especially compared to IS4, but are a lot sturdier. There's also a lot of environmental damage, which will slowly chip away at you, so having somebody to heal or some medic is very good. And that's really about it. The core themes are just really high defense and resistance, which require specific methods I've noticed to kind of deal with. So let's go over notable operators. Like I said, notable operators are going to be definitely Nymph. Nymph is basically one of the best, in my opinion, of IS5, because her second skill, Fear Blast, can... if you have some SP relics, she can perma-stall bosses. I'm specifically thinking of the third ending boss. She can perma-stun him. Basically stall. He can't do anything because she inflicts fear. If you get some skill point recovery relics or collectibles, you can basically always just send this out, and then he cannot do anything. He will be perma-stalled, which makes her second skill extremely powerful. Her third skill is extremely powerful for the fact it can do elemental damage, and elemental damage currently is not blocked by anything. No enemy currently in the game has elemental resistance, basically. So that means they basically take all the damage up front. So defense can block physical damage, and resistance can block arts damage, but elemental damage has basically no way to be blocked currently. Nobody has any resistance to it. So that means unless you have because enemies have such high physical damage reduction, so defense and resistance, that means they take less arts and physical damage. Finding ways to circumvent this is extremely important. So Nymph is extremely good. Perma-stall, second skill, third skill, huge burst. Now, to apply her third skill consistently, you still need somebody else like a ritualist, i.e. Virtuosa specifically. Virtuosa can apply Necrosis, which is specifically required to gain the most burst damage from Nymph's third skill, which they have to be under the effect of Necrosis. But if you can also, Virtuosa is still really good in general in IS5, due to enemies being very vulnerable to elemental damage, but having high arts and high arts resistance and defense. So those two are I've had a lot of success with Nymph and Virtuosa. In another vein, Logos' third skill and first skill is extremely good, especially with Delta Module. There's not much else to say. He is extremely powerful and is one of the best casters in the game, or one of the best operators in like the whole game anyways currently. But yeah, his ability to just deal tons of arts damage and necrosis with module allow him to be very good at dealing with even the high resistance enemies, specifically because he also lowers people's resistance anyways. So Logos extremely good, just like Nymph and Virtuosa. Tin Man specifically basically designed for this game mode because of his talents. His second skill can heal summons or operators that typically cannot be healed, such as Mudrock or Executor Altar, or the Revenant Shadow Summons by Wizardell. So Tin Man, very good. Ella is also a very good pick due to the fragile effect for her third skill. Texas Altar in general, or Yado Altar if you have her, are extremely good operators to bring to IS-5. Operators I've also had success with, Wizardell, of course, is extremely good for burst damage. Her extremely high AoE physical damage allow her to deal, and off skill allow her to deal with even some of the highest physical damage reduction, highest defense enemies. Calcit with her new integrated strategy specialized module is extremely good. Monster has the ability to do true damage, which, because true damage does not care about physical or arts resistance, defense or resistance, he can basically deal with some of the biggest threats. Because true damage doesn't care, it will still do basically all its damage, which is why Calcit third skill is extremely good, besides the fact that she's a medic as well, and just in general. Narutuya is also pretty good in IS-5. I like her more in IS-4, but IS-5 is still good. Mudrock with her talent is extremely good, specifically the Unshakable Solidarity. She takes 30% less damage from Sarkaz enemies. Due to the title of IS-5 being Sarkaz's Furnaceside Fables, there's a lot of Sarkaz enemies, so having an operator that can take less damage from those types of enemies is extremely just powerful in general. Mudrock's already a good unit, and just you get to make a lot of use from her talent, and taking less damage from when most enemies are Sarkaz, it's basically very, very, very good. You can also try her for free due to the Storyteller list right now, currently, which will change eventually, being Mudrock. So you can just try her for free even if you don't have her. And special mention, and then the last one I wanted to go over, operator I've had a lot of success with, is Opianus. Opianus is a crazy unit. Specifically, he has a ton of HP, but he has no defense. But his high HP pool makes him very good at dealing with just surviving in general. He has extremely high attack as well. He can hit multiple enemies, or all blocked all blocked enemies or multiple enemies. He has extremely good lane holding potential with his second skill, and extremely high burst potential with his third skill, which can also basically teleport him, so you can just throw out, he throws an anchor and will teleport. Basically, if there's a spot he can reach, he will then basically teleport over there, and then once the skill ends, he will teleport back to his original location, so you can do some fun things with that. This skill is extremely good in IS. He can deal with even some of the highest defense enemies, and he can just, even if he doesn't teleport, he can still throw the anchor. The anchor will hit things around the anchor, doing a bunch of damage, and it will stun enemies. So he can just throw the anchor at a spot even if he doesn't teleport and do a bunch of burst damage without actually having to teleport. He can manually deactivate the skill, or you can, and it's on a 25-second skill point cost, which is pretty cheap, so it's pretty spammable. It's very nice. It's not super spammable, but it is pretty spammable. His high HP and high attack allows him to hit past even the higher defense enemies, and like I said, IS-5 has a lot of high defense enemies and a lot of high resistant enemies, which makes elemental damage king, i.e. Nymph and Virtuosa or Ritualist in general, and it makes operators that can do extremely high amounts of damage of either type extremely valuable. Opianus does high physical damage, Wizardell does extremely high physical damage as well. To hit past it, Logos does extremely high arts damage and adds necrosis damage with his module. So any sort of way you can circumvent the high defense and high resistance of enemies is going to be extremely useful in IS-5 specifically. Yeah, and that's really about it. This video has probably been going on a bit too long, and I apologize, and I'm starting to get a little tired, so I may follow up. If anyone wants me to maybe go over specific bosses or endings, I will, but As always, please use the resources in the description, the wiki.gg, if you're confused about anything, and feel free to ask questions. And I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next guide, which will be IS4, I believe. Have a good night.